Hello and welcome back to the Portadown preview show. For those of you that may have forgotten me, as I haven't been on this for, I would say, for a few weeks now, my name is Neil Campbell, and alongside me, I am joined by Johnny the King Dunlop, Portadown's social media guru. Johnny, how are you keeping?
I'm not too bad, Neil. Good to see you. Good to see you back.
Thank you very much. On top of that, obviously, Portadown haven't played in what feels like an eternity. So tonight's show is going to be, we're talking about the Korean game, our recent victory there, and then we're going to preview the Cliftonville game, which is this Tuesday night. It was obviously meant to be last weekend, but was rescheduled because of international call-ups. And then Saturday's game against Warrenpoint Town. So, Johnny, we'll get straight into it. Well, do you know what? How long? Geez, it's 2 weeks ago now. Yeah, since we beat Korean. That's mad. We're recording this on Sunday night, so that's 2 weeks ago when we beat Korean 2-0. You must have been happy, boy.
I was confined to my house for 7 days, so I had to avail of the We Reports TV live stream of the game.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, the match cheered me up. I turned the commentary down now and put it on mute. There's somebody on it that didn't know what they're talking about. But I'm only joking. Thoroughly enjoyed it. To go off on a wee bit of a tangent, it's the first time I've ever availed of the stream. And it was absolutely brilliant. It was a bit surreal watching Portadown lying in bed on the TV. But so anybody that's watching from further afield that can't get to a match on a Saturday or something, I thoroughly recommend it. I thought it was absolutely brilliant quality. So well done to the guys behind that, like Mark Beattie and Matt Wright, and that dodgy commentator that's on it from time to time as well. They all do a sterling job. But listen, great 2-0 win. I would nearly go as far as to say it was a comfortable 2-0 win. I thought we played really well. Great to see Adam and Harry on the score sheet. And if somebody had told me 6 weeks ago that we would have consecutive league victories over back-to-back league victories over Ballymena and Coleraine in consecutive weeks and be within 1 point of Carrick Rangers in 10th, I would have laughed at them. But got that wee bit of momentum now, and we look hungry, we look well drilled, we look like we know what we're doing. So yeah, very happy, man.
I think on top of that, in the games against Warrenpoint, Ballymena and Coleraine, 3 games at home on the bounce where we've kept a clean sheet as well. And you can see, being very well drilled under Paul Doolan, and obviously the hard work they're putting in the training pitch is sort of coming to fruition, so to speak. And, it's 4 games unbeaten here for Portadown. And I know, might not it's been like, 4 games, whatever. But for us, this season, coming on this show week in, week out, and you're sort of trying to say the same things week out. Oh, we've been a bit unlucky, or we're close to it. But to go 4 games it's a big deal, and we've really put ourselves in the contention of, getting out of trouble. So as we speak, we're currently 1 point behind Carrick Rangers. We have a game in hand, which is against Cliftonville here on Tuesday night. We'll touch on that in a minute. Going back to the Korean game, you mentioned Adam Sally there. I think that's a player that's playing with a lot of confidence at the minute. I think he's stepping up. Obviously, there was a bit of a void when Lee Bonus left, and Adam has, taken the ball and ran with it, so to speak. And he's playing out of his skin at the minute. I think even the games, where he's had the captain's armband and stuff, he finished as captain on the game there on the other Saturday against Korean. And, I think he seems to enjoy that bit of extra responsibility as well. And he's forming a good partnership with Harry Anderson, because between the two of them, they've been chipping in the goals over the past few weeks. And, it's always a positive when you've got different players in different departments on the pitch are really starting to, put in really good performances. And another person that I want to say that, has went under the radar, but in my opinion has been excellent in the past month or so is George Tipton, who,
Definitely.
has got his place in the team, since Michigo has been suspended. Obviously, he's back now, and he had started off well in his Portadown career, but he's been suspended, and George just came in and took his place essentially, and George is playing out of his skin and he's keeping him out of the team. But that's what you want. You want competition for places, and that bodes well for us, especially going into the running here, but if you want players that are banging form, and thankfully that seems to be the case with some of our players at the minute.
Yeah, no, I would totally second and echo what you say about George Tipton. I think he has been really stepped up and has been excellent these past 3 or 4 games, or since he come in when Cataligo got suspended. George has been one of our best players over the last 6 weeks or so, and probably one of the first names on the team sheet at the minute under Paul Doonan. That is, his performances have been that good. I'm sure it's been difficult for George with his dad there leaving the club and things like that. And I think maybe people thought that George would probably follow suit, but he's really knuckled down and has fully earned his place in the team, and is worthy of the praise that he's getting at the minute. Like you say there, just to go back to Adam Sally, Adam too has really stepped up to the plate. I suppose you could call Adam one of the senior players in the team now. And he's since Lee has left the club, Adam, I think, was challenged, to step up and be that leader, and to try and take over from what Lee had been doing, and he certainly has done that. He gives you that presence up front. He's a big lad, Adam, and he's starting to use that presence up front. He's not afraid to have a pop either from far out and stuff. His goal against Ballymena. Another one too, I think, Pard Beveland has slipped under the radar a wee bit, and I think these past couple of weeks, he come in January in a difficult spell, and I think he picked up an injury and missed 3 or 4 weeks not long after making his debut. But these last 3 or 4 weeks, I think he has been a real calming influence and a real leader at the back as well, and has more than contributed to the good run that we're on at the minute.
This is the thing. One of the things that we've always said, throughout the season, we do have a young team. And sometimes I always thought earlier in the season we would be a bit naive. And you look at the back four that we have at the minute that's playing. So you have Michael Ruddy at left back, which is his natural position, and he has been outstanding in the past few weeks. He's got the captain's armband.
Often it looks like he's playing on one leg. He looks when he comes walking down the tunnel, he looks like he's already limping. But I think that's just the type of the man. He maybe isn't fully fit, but he gives 110%. And like you're going to say there, with his experience and all, and I think he's been excellent as well. He's given us all for the team and doing his part.
Exactly, and he's wearing the armband at the minute as well, and thriving on the responsibility. So he, as you say, he's got experience, playing for Irish League for many a year. And then you've got Hard, of course. We've already discussed him. Paddy McNally's came back in, very experienced as well. And then Greg Hall, Mr. Consistent, so there's a solid back four there at the minute. And then obviously, the players in front of them, are thriving. And yeah, it's very good at the minute. The Coleraine game was very satisfying because, again, Coleraine, I know they've obviously been on a sticky patch recently, but at the same time, they can do serious damage on their day. And, we kept them at bay. It's probably one of the most enjoyable days of the season, to be honest, because, it was a nice day and all as well. Sun was shining. We got a win, a clean sheet. But we'll not dwell on that for too long, because there's another challenge on the horizon here, and it's one that it's going to be another few levels up, because don't get me wrong, Coleraine are a good side, but we're coming up here. We're going to be facing Cliftonville on Tuesday night, and that's Cliftonville, who are just on the back of an Irish Cup semi-final defeat to Crusaders. So is this going to play into Portadown's advantage, so to speak? Because essentially now, so Linfield are 4 points clear of them. Cliftonville, obviously, the game in hand, which is against us. Do you think, because Cliftonville have to win this, because I'm not going to say their season's over, that's ridiculous talk, but if they didn't win against us, it would obviously give Linfield a massive advantage going into their game against them the following week. But can Portadown use the defeat they had the Crusaders on Friday night to our advantage? Because essentially it is all or nothing now for them. They've already won the League Cup. They're challenging for the league, but if they were to lose to us, so could that maybe force them into a few mistakes? Or is there going to be a backlash?
It's hard to gauge. We had the same conversation before the Coleraine game because Coleraine were coming into our match off the back of the League Cup final defeat to Cliftonville. And we thought to ourselves, what way will this go? Well, could we get a backlash from Coleraine, or will they be still, disappointed and down in the dumps after that defeat? So it's a wee bit like that. It's really hard to gauge. Games between Portadown and Cliftonville at Shamrock in the main are pretty tight affairs. I think we took them to extra time, I think, in the League Cup earlier on in the season at Shamrock, and we drew with them.
Yep.
As well, was that round by just before Christmas? When they were in a really good run. Now, our recent record over Cliftonville is very poor. I think we haven't beat them in a long time. I haven't beat them at Shamrock Park. I was looking earlier on, I think 2011 was the last time we beat them at Shamrock Park. So we're due a victory over them. I was a bit, you're talking about the Cliftonville and being down in the dumps and stuff like that. We haven't played for a couple of weeks. I just hope we haven't lost our momentum either. We won a real good run. Then the 2-week break probably came at a bad time for us as well. Because we had that bit of momentum, that bit of confidence behind us. But I suppose playing devil's advocate has also give you a 2-week break there to clear up any niggly injuries and things like that.
Well, this is what I was going to say. I listened to the score, and Paul Doolan was on, and he was saying that as well. Of course, you're a bit of momentum, but at the same time, there's a few players that are playing with injuries, and so by having the gap of a couple of weeks, it gives them the opportunity to get fitter again.
And it also gives Paul the chance. It also gives Paul the chance to get over. He's in 2 weeks without any games to worry about, to really instill his training methods and his tactics and whatever, his mentality into the team, because he's come in and he's more or less at Saturday, Tuesday. I think he would say himself he wanted that bit of a gap to get to work with the team for a bit of time as well. Where there isn't a game on a Saturday and a Tuesday and a Saturday and a Tuesday, and it's difficult for a new manager coming in the final third of the season then to get his ideas across and get his tactics and training ideas across as well. So maybe that 2 weeks will have done the world of good there as well. But I don't like using this term, but it's sort of like a free hit as well for us, because nobody expects us to get anything against Cliftonville on Tuesday night. A point's a bonus. A point's a great result because Cliftonville's going for the league title. They've put a great run together. So nobody expects Portadown to get anything on Tuesday night. So the players can maybe go into the game without any pressure, without any expectation as such on them as to get a result, because the 5 matches after this, that's when the pressure goes on. Those are the matches that everybody's expecting you to pick up points, that you have to pick up points in. Well, this game just prior to it, like I say, against one of the challengers for the title, there's not that much expected of you. So maybe everything might come together and, we could play into our hands and we can pick up a rare victory over Cliftonville.
Well, this is the thing. So if Portadown were to beat Cliftonville on Tuesday, which of course is a massive ask because they're a very good side and they were a bit out of sorts in the second half against Crusaders there and on Friday night there. But if Portadown were to beat Cliftonville, effectively Warrenpoint are relegated. Mm-hmm. Now, they could obviously still claw back, through goal difference and stuff, but effectively they'd be gone. Now, we're currently 12 points ahead of Warrenpoint. We have a game in hand. We're going into the split. We'll play them next Saturday. We'll talk about that as well. But if we were to get something against Cliftonville, we can relegate Warrenpoint on the Saturday. Now, obviously, Carrick are 1 point ahead of us and Dungannon are 4 ahead. They play each other as well. So this week coming up is absolutely huge because, I always thought, and I always said, if Portadown can go into the split 3 points behind Carrick, I always said I'd be confident that we could catch them. It would be hard, but I would have confidence that we could do it. We're 1 point behind them now. Obviously, the game the other week, the 2 each, if we had held on, I know it's all ifs and buts, and if you're, all that sort of carry on.
I was sort of thinking, it's all ifs and buts, and I'm sure all clubs could say this and that, if this happened, if that happened. Carrick had a great start to the season, I think. But I think they picked up maybe the majority of the points that they're sitting with now in their first 10 games of the season, if not less. You look back, and like I say, it's very much ifs and buts and all. They scored in injury time. We were 2-0 up against them at Shamrock Park, and they scored that injury time goal. They beat us up at Taylor's Avenue with a penalty, I think, quite early in the season. 2-0 up against them at Taylor's Avenue and ended up drawing, 2-2. So there's been a lot of, if we had that luck, maybe that experience as well, in those earlier games, that game that we were 2-0 up at Shamrock and we conceded the goal in the last minute, maybe an experienced head like a Hard Beveland in there at that period of time. That doesn't happen. You see the game out, you manage the game out. But listen, I'm the same as you. I never imagined that we would get close to Carrick, never mind be a point behind them going into the split. And we have all our three major relegation rivals all at home. Carrick have to come to Shamrock, Warrenpoint come to Shamrock, and I think Dungannon Swifts is over the hill and far away. I don't think they'll get pulled in it. Although it's not a big amount in it. But we have them at home as well. So it's all very, very positive, and hopefully we can use that positivity, have that bit of confidence, and use everything to our advantage.
Okay, well, we'll move on to Saturday then. Obviously, we're going to be facing Warrenpoint. We've played 3 times this season, and we've won 3 times, including the victory the other week. It was massive. If results were to go our way between now and then, obviously we could relegate them if we were to beat them. Now, listen, I don't want to tempt fate or anything like that. There's a lot of people say Warrenpoint are down. Until they are mathematically down, they are not down. So they're going to come and, on Saturday there, last Saturday, they played Linfield, and I was literally like, Linfield, please, 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 please score, because suddenly if they don't and they get a good, of course it would have been only a point, but a point would have been, massive for them, in the sense that you're playing arguably the best team in the country, league table done lie, in my opinion, so that could have been massive for them mentally, and they go like, you know what, lads, if we were to beat Portadown next week, it's game on again, so
it's a confidence boost for them as well. If they'd got that draw against Linfield, it's confidence for them going into their game against us. I was in a restaurant and it had dodgy phone signal, and the last I had checked, it was like on 88 minutes and it was 1-1, and I had sort of resigned myself to one point and picked up a point. So I was a happy chappy coming out and seeing that Linfield had scored a last minute winner. But I'm exactly the same as you. 1 point aren't down until they're mathematically down. We've seen enough twists and turns over the years in football to know that everything doesn't always be black and white and doesn't always go how you think it's going to go. It would take a monumental run from Warrenpoint, I think, to drag themselves out of it. But it would get that monkey off our back, so to speak, that, we definitely can't finish bottom and keep looking upwards. Like you say, we've beaten 1.3 times already this season, so there's no reason why we can't beat them on Saturday. It'll be interesting to just going back to the Cliftonville match on Tuesday night. Does Paul go into it with the mentality of the bigger game is on Saturday against Warrenpoint? If there's anybody with a slight niggle or anything like that, does he keep them for Saturday rather than putting all his eggs into one basket for the Tuesday night against Cliftonville? But I don't know. I can't see him doing that, but I'm just thinking about it.
The flip side of that is, right, say you're Carrick, right, and you're 1 point ahead of us, ahead of Portadown. Mm-hmm. If Portadown got a result against Cliftonville, we would jump Now, if we won, we'd jump Carrick. If we draw, we're going the same points, and the goal difference is similar, but theirs would be slightly better. So, but psychologically, we could strike a blow on Carrick before we've even hit the split yet. So, for me, you have to play your strongest team, even if they're carrying knocks, because if you get something...
I would agree. I would agree with that. Who's Carrick's first game in the split, do you know?
It's Dungannon at Taylor's Avenue. So, again, what what way will that play? Like, will Dungannon go there happy just to get a point or
Yeah,
whatever? Like, do you know what I mean? So there's all to play for. And I mean, even speaking of the split, after that, you've got we've got to play Ballymena and Glenavon away, and they're both vying, for the
yeah.
European place. And then there's different permutations. If Ballymena were to win the cup, then Glenavon, if they finish seventh, would get in. Do you know what I mean? There's all the different permutations and all that carry on as well. But
I never was really a big fan of the split and everything like that. But you can see its advantages at times like this, where every club nearly has something to play for, rather than there being just loads of dead rubber matches, really.
But all teams do. There is something to play for, even when you look at the top half of the split. Obviously,
for European places and who you play in European playoffs, and if you have home advantage away, So while I'm not a massive fan of the split, I can definitely at this time of year see it, especially this season, can see the advantages of it, because most teams have definitely, if not every team, has something to play for.
Because as I said, Warrenpoint can still survive. Obviously, Carrick, Dungannon, and Portadown. I know what you're saying about Dungannon being over the hill, but if a couple of results didn't go their way, they're sucked back in.
Yeah.
Them three are obviously looking to avoid the playoff, and then you've got Ballymena and Glenavon are both fighting for the seventh spot, which could get a playoff place, so to speak. So it does make for compelling viewing, I suppose. Not that when you say viewing, you'll not see Portadown on the TV, because we're the only team that doesn't have a TV game this season. Anyway.
No sour grapes around in there, Neil.
No, not at all. But just remember, folks, that if you can't make the game, we don't need to rely on the BBC or anyone else, because we've got you covered on We Are Ports TV. So, yeah. Speaking of carry-ons and whatnot, what do you make of the whole debacle with the Glens at the minute in the Cup?
I just, on one point, on one side of the coin, I think to myself, I think it looks bad for Irish League football. How many, while I'm a Portadown supporter, I'm an Irish League supporter as well. And I never like to see the Irish League get a bad rap or look amateurish. And I think the number of eligibility issues this season has done that. Dundela, I think, fell foul a lot as well in the Irish Cup and different bits and bobs. But listen, Glentoran's a full-time outfit. People on ILS, on the Irish League forums, were commenting that before the Queens, or the Newry match, that Joe Crow wasn't eligible to play in it. If people on a football forum before ball's kicked know that Joe Crow isn't eligible to play in the match, Glentoran should know that as well. I think Glentoran's in the wrong. I think they're clutching at straws. Their statement they put out, or the basis of their appeal, the final point about the damage that it would cause to Glentorans is laughable. I think they should just take their medicine. They've made a cock up. Live with it, learn from it, and just don't do it again. And there's been a lot of criticism of the comment system as well. But listen, my understanding is comments was only brought in as to accommodate team sheets and player registrations and things like that. It doesn't tell you. It isn't there to nurse you into who's eligible for a game, who's not eligible for a game. That's maybe a different argument. Maybe there should be something for that. But I think that Tone's just made a major cock up. Just take their medicine, they're in the wrong, and get on with it. And not drag it out. I wouldn't like to think they're going to bring this to the Court of Arbitration. Next thing, the Irish Cup finals put back, and it just messes up everything.
I like your pun there. Cock up for the cock and hens.
You see what I've done there?
I did. Very good.
This podcast isn't just through together, Neil.
This is another thing to touch on. We're chatting there about BBC games and stuff. What's your take on the semi-final? What's your take on TV games at Windsor Park involving the Irish League? Do you not think it makes the Irish League look weak? Apart from the final the other week.
I don't like it at Windsor Park. I don't know what way the TV games work. Does the home side get the majority of the money? I'm not sure what way that works. But I do think when you put on games at Windsor Park, Windsor Park's a good international stadium, don't get me wrong, but it is a shell at Irish League matches. We were at Portdown played Linfield, 5 6 weeks ago. Linfield won 1-0, and I think there's over 1,000 at the match. There's bound to be, but we were sort of up by the Ports TV crew filming and stuff. So, but like, if somebody had told me there was 200 at the match, I would have believed them because I've barely seen anybody. It's an empty shell. It's not a great atmosphere, and it doesn't come across well. A typical Irish League match on TV. I often wonder, should they take, I know it's a different thing, I know the majority of Rangers and Celtic matches that they're on live TV, on BT or on Sky, or never at Ibrox or Celtic Park. I know that's nothing to do with the crowd, they fill that regardless. But I just think they need to look at it. And at the very least, if it's going to be at Windsor Park, put the supporters in the lower sections of the stand so you can see them, so it doesn't look like there's nobody there. That's my thoughts on it anyway. I'm sure Linfield will go, they'll have a different argument of why should we be not getting a TV game because it's at Windsor Park. But I think there's better seeing. I know for your love of Lauren, Neil, but I think Inver comes across well on TV games.
It does.
So it does, and I think Seaview comes across well on TV games as well. It's probably because they're compact grounds and they're not as big as Windsor Park. But I think at the very least, if they're going to show a TV game at Windsor Park, put the supporters in the lower bit of the stands so it comes across well on TV and doesn't just look like there's one man and his dog there.
Yeah, no, that's it. Just the other night, I watched the semi-final and I was just like, this place looks empty. And Cliftonville brought a big support with them, but you couldn't see them. So it's like,
I know.
What's the point?
I don't think the semi-finals, this is a completely separate point, I don't think the semi-finals, the Irish Cup, should be played at Windsor.
Agreed.
I really hate that the FA Cup semi-finals are played at Wembley. It is a real pet hate of mine. There is absolutely no need for it. Wembley, I know it's different because we play at Windsor Park and you play league games there, but I think those sorts of grounds should be only kept for big occasions, or if you're playing Linfield there, you shouldn't be having a semi-final. Why not play the semi-final at the Oval, for instance? Something like that. I don't think Windsor Park should be used for semi-finals, but that's a different argument.
Listen, I agree with you. I'm old school, and again, the same what you're saying there about the FA Cup. Again, the FA have signed a contract where a certain number of games and all have to be played there. So, having been to Wembley for semi-finals and finals and stuff, I do agree with you. To me, a semi-final should be like an Old Trafford or Villa Park or wherever.
If Arsenal's playing Tottenham, or say Liverpool's playing Everton, it's maybe because Arsenal, Tottenham's London-based teams. If Liverpool's playing Everton in the FA Cup semi-final, both teams have to trot down to London. It doesn't make any sense. Wembley should be this stadium that's the best of you only get to play there, in cup finals, or if you're playing for England or internationals or something like that. It should be the pinnacle of a footballer's career to play at Wembley, not playing in the semi-finals.
No, I agree with you, but I also 100%. To me, Cliftonville Crusaders should have been an absolute banker for the Oval. It's in Belfast and it's not. I don't know. That's a debate for another time.
Even in Inver Park, or isn't that far away? There's plenty of ground.
Listen, Johnny, Belfast teams aren't going to travel outside of Belfast. There've been a whole palaver with that. Do you know what I mean? No.
I know.
It's never. They're not. You get the Belfast clubs would go, why should we travel to Larne or down to Warrenpoint Park whenever we're in Belfast? It's like, yeah, well, not that far away. It's like literally 25 minutes away.
I'm still bitter about the Irish Cup final of 2015 being played at Glentoran's home ground of the Oval.
Well, that's the thing. See, recently with the Glens kicking off about this whole hoo-ha and all, I feel like going, look at what happened in 2015. Shut your mouths, the absolute clowns. And do you know another thing, right? And I know I've discussed this with you before, right? But sure, we'll discuss it on air here as well. Do you know the way on Twitter now, basically stuff, you know what I'm going to say here, stuff appears now on your Twitter feed of people you don't even follow, you don't even know, but it's based on mutual interest. So, like you say, you're a fan of the Irish League. I'm a fan of the Irish League as well. And But in the last sort of couple of months, all that just appears on my feed is just random Glentoran fans talking a big game and overhyping themselves. And ever since they started doing that, they have just went, and then all this disaster. And it's all I see, like all these random Twitter feeds. And I'm like, I'm sick of seeing garbage about Glentoran. You have screwed up. Deal with it. Like,
and to be fair, I think the majority of Glentoran fans will admit they've booed. There is a section there that think that, you know, if McDermott told them that the sky was black during the day, that they would take it as gospel. But you know, I just think they have to. I know what you mean. There's always something to be said about being humble, keeping your tongue in your mouth until you have got yourself over the line, because you only set yourself a real downfall. This may sound like on a different topic. You know, I watched the Old Firm today, and when Celtic appointed, I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name, but there was a lot of criticism from all quarters, you know, from lots of Rangers fans about the managerial appointment, that he wasn't any good and stuff like that. And, you know, Celtic 6 points clear with 6 points with 6 games to play. I always think you should just keep a low profile, keep your head down, not say nothing until you over the line, because it always comes back to bite you.
Well, this is the thing. Like, I always just laugh because the Glentoran fans were getting up, like, all these stupid tweets appearing of being like, we're the best supported team and have the biggest fan base and we're massive, and then just like, every week after week, and then after all these tweets were appearing and all, and then they get beat by Larne twice. They drew with us. They beat Linfield, and then it all started up again, and then all this nonsense happened. And the thing, as you say, just saying, I don't get it. Like, just saying nothing.
You just set yourself up for a downfall, and people take pleasure in somebody that's boasting and blowing. They take pleasure then whenever it all falls apart of making sure that the nose fell apart. I'd rather each to their own, and everybody can do what they want to do. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying don't support it, don't back your club, but do it in a certain way that you don't come across as arrogant. And when the wheels come off, everybody's not sitting pointing and laughing at you because you've been going on about how great you are all season.
Indeed. Right, before we go, I'm going to ask you one last thing, okay?
Right.
Prediction time. Who is going to win between Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar tonight? So we've got the Tribal Chief and we've got Cowboy Brock. Who's gonna win both belts?
I can literally hear and see Mark Beattie rolling his eyes at this final conversation.
Good.
I'm gonna go for a shoddy finish, I think, Neil, and I think Brock Lesnar wins.
Really?
With the help of Paul Heyman. You do know, Neil, that the majority of listeners and watchers to this podcast switched off as soon as you said Brock Lesnar.
Here, if he wins, you'll be sitting with a cowboy hat on, a Stetson, and all.
I will.
And a big,
that's what I wear on Tuesday night. That's what I wear on Tuesday night.
I'm gonna go. I think Roman Reigns wins. I think Brock will be doing the job, to be perfectly honest, but we'll find out in due course. Right, folks, on that cheery note, we shall let you go. And before we do go, don't forget to like and subscribe to the We Are Ports TV YouTube channel, and you can find us on various social media outlets and different podcast platforms such as Spotify, Anchor, etc., etc. Johnny, you're our social media guru at Portadown, so we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, etc.
Yes, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, like you said, We Are Ports TV, YouTube. We're all over the place, Neil. You'll not miss us.
Indeed. And anybody that can't make the game on Tuesday night or Saturday against Warrenpoint as well, you'll be able to avail of the stream on We Are Ports TV.
You have commentary on Tuesday night?
Yes. So if anyone is going to listen, make sure you bring your earmuffs.
I've just had confirmation of your co-commentator on Tuesday night is Philip Major.
Actually?
He's just confirmed there now, Neil. So
Oh, very good.
You'll be in the company of greatness on Tuesday night.
Brilliant. I'm looking forward to that.
That's because I'm sitting on one side of you, but Philip, he'll be sitting at the other side of you as well.
Very good. No, I'm looking forward to that now. That's good. That's cool. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think we'll leave it there. Johnny, as always, thank you for coming on, and I'm sure we'll see and hear from you again on the show very, very soon. So we'll leave it at that. Come on, Ports. 2 wins here, please. See you later.
Bye.